What are your most vivid and consistent nightmares? It started out like most dreams do, with a vague sense of wrongness that comes from suddenly being able to perceive everything at once. There's a strange duality to nightmares where you manage to live and observe them simultaneously, to feel your own pounding heart and glance behind you as you run while you watch yourself stumble through undergrowth from above. As it began, I slowly took in the world around me and felt the slightly creaking firmness of stage boards beneath me. I was standing behind the ropes of a heavy curtain, and as I stepped further into the awareness of my dream, it was pulled on shrieking ropes up to the rafters. I was alone on stage in the center of a dark and cavernous theater. Somewhere in the back a resounding clack threw on a spotlight that shone through the miasma of dust that hung in the silent air and illuminated me where I stood, shivering under the glare as my eyes struggled to adjust to the darkness and the sudden bright cast of the spotlight in the distance. As I became accustomed to the light, the set in which I'd been placed became apparent as a forest, though closer to the trees of some grade school Wizard of Oz production than anything, rendered in cheap paint on rolled butcher paper and nailed to a forest of plywood that seemed to extend forever behind me. Whatever audience had come was silent, and as my attention turned to them I was struck with the notion that I was there to perform. I was on stage after all, and the hush of whatever crowd had assembled prompted me to act, but as I moved to step I found myself frozen in place. As I looked down, my stomach dropped with a particular horror of dreams in which you realize your body is not your own, that you've been transplanted to some alien form you now inhabit as if you'd been born to it though you'd never seen it before. The audience stirred, low breath and cough sharpening as I stared down at myself, the body of what should have been a young teenager transformed and stretched into the pale colors and cloven hooves of a speckled deer caught frozen in the spotlight of a theater that only seemed to grow bigger, unable to move in the headlights of my own anxiety turning manifest in images. I could not move no matter how hard I tried, and as I struggled the audience grew still again, hovering on the precipice of some action I could not yet perceive, until through some force of will I managed to turn my head to look out at them. There in the crowd, seated in the reaches of a packed theater, were hundreds of pairs of glowing yellow eyes, tinged with the glare of the spotlight and frozen as they reflected my own horrified expression and contorted animal form back at me, eyes that were too large and too hungry to ever have been mistaken for human. That's when the scream began, as those who have night terrors know, the animal scream of a mind full of as much fear as it's biologically able to take, readying itself to fight for its life as adrenaline pours into the bloodstream. It built in my chest, and as it welled up through the strains of my unconscious mind, those hundreds of eyes surged forward as one. They were wolves. Huge, black wolves with eyes that shone like spotlights that poured together like a great black wave, snarling and falling on me as they tore me on that stage as I woke, my nails dug into the edges of my bed and my lungs heaving as if I'd just run a marathon. It woke the whole house as it often did, the scream, and I spent the next day bleary-eyed and exhausted trying to sit through whatever math or civics class I had as the image played over and over in my head. Of falling under the claws and teeth of that blood-frenzied swarm, of the blackness of that stage, and of glowing yellow eyes.